So, now you decide to make an effort. You ever known someone who skives off for the entire school year until the deadline starts approaching and it suddenly occurs to them they have to start taking their work seriously? I give you Death of Superman. Now, I had every reason to be disenchanted with this film before it even started. Superman has been done very poorly, despite the fact that he doesn't appear all that much. I feel safe in saying that this version of him is not well loved. After seeing how badly people reacted to him in the New 52 comics, I don't know what the creators of this universe were thinking when they decided to take that as their inspiration for their version of Superman. Did they manage to course correct when it really mattered? Before I answer that question, I want to let you guys know that I have another series called In the Comics where I take movies and TV show episodes that are either based on one specific comic or take enough elements from one or more comics to make a comparison worth exploring. If an episode like that in regards to Death of Superman is something you'd like to see, please drop a comment below. Although keep in mind that the Judas Contract is still on my list for that series. Not that I'm in a hurry to ever watch that movie again. So enough arsing around. Let's see if the DCAMU managed to redeem its third most unlikable character. Standard beginning to a superhero film with a crime being committed as some goons try to kidnap the mayor. Metropolis's finest are doing their best but are running into some trouble due to the criminals having what I assume is Luthor tech. Superman of course comes in to save the day. Now admittedly it is funny how he just zooms in and the criminals are just so confused, but what is with all the cracking wise? He's not the Flash.
Ever wonder what it feels like to fall from a great distance? Let's find out. Oh, looks like it hurts. Be right back.
Why are you so determined to make Superman act so un-Superman-like? He's not Hal. He's not Barry. He's Clark. Due to the kind of people they are, when they crack wise, it often comes off as cute. Superman, especially this version of him, with his irritating air of self-importance, when he does it, it comes off as arrogant, and makes me completely understand why Lex Luthor would want to get rid of him. So the villains are taken away and Superman poses for a photo with a fan whose life he saved. Keep that in mind, it's important later. Cyborg and the Flash come to help. God knows why, that was hardly something that required 3 of them. But it is kind of funny how they stick Barry with cleanup. Barry is on form as always.
I wonder if it's too late to join the Titans. Is there an age limit?
And Superman goes to chat with Luthor, basically telling him,
I'm watching you, always watching.
And Cyborg takes the tech the villains were wearing to be analysed by his dad. Now, I loved this father-son relationship in previous movies. The divide between them was just so interesting. Victor's heartbreak over his father's dismissiveness over his passions, and Silas not fully taking regard of his son until he became literally the thing he was studying. It's a really screwed up dynamic that would be so interesting to see them work through. They don't work through it. But I don't really blame this movie because they have enough on their plate trying to make Superman likeable before he dies. So this is a problem I'll just lay at the feet of the DCAMU as a whole. Superman has an interview with Lois Lane and tells her about the Kryptonian tech that brought him here as a child. And I have to say, I love Lois Lane here. I've always had a fondness for her. And I get that straight-talking, blunt, story-hungry journalists can be a difficult character to make likeable. There's always the danger of making a blunt character come across as bitchy. But Lois here, I can't fully explain why, but she just doesn't come across like that. She just doesn't. A brilliant example is when Superman's flying her back to work and she gets this look of wonder on her face, realises what she's doing, and then puts on her hard-nosed reporter face before saying, fuck it, and then just allows herself to feel the wonder. And I love her interactions with Superman.
Lift back to the planet?
And save me from expensing cab fare to Perry White? You are heroic.
But that has got nothing on her interactions with Clark Kent. This is the biggest thing that makes the movie work. Really, all I have to say about it is, oh my god, it's so cute! I've gone on rants in previous videos about how not just stupid but pointless it is for Wonder Woman and Superman to date each other, because they have nothing that balances each other out. So from a narrative perspective, it's pretty pointless. Why did it take me 5 minutes to say that the last time? Lois is perfect for him because she's the straight-talking city girl who gets the uptight country boy to loosen up. That is the kind of person Clark needs, not a bosomed version of himself, because when you do that, you lose a key link to his humanity. Speaking of which, it's time to meet the parents, but Clark is reluctant because getting that serious means he has to tell her his secret.
It'll be fine. Just fine.
Hello, Clark. It's nice of you to finally show your face. Your adorable, dorky, non-arseholish face. I also love this scene where Lois is getting grilled about Clark by a colleague.
I had a suspicion something was up when you stopped calling him Smallville.
These types of gossip scenes normally make me roll my eyes, but it does showcase Lois's personality and her insecurity over her relationship with Clark pretty well. Unlike the next scene introducing Hank Henshaw, which is just exposition on top of more obvious exposition.
As your long-suffering, devoted wife, knock some screws loose. Very technical.
Well, I'm sure you can science that up a bit, Madam Engineer.
It's your ninth trip up here, boss.
The latter half of it, though, does effectively tell the audience how much faith Henshaw has in Superman. It also shows us that Hank may have always been a little bit unstable, which is important for the next film. As a meteor comes plummeting towards them, he has full faith that Superman is going to save them.
Superman, I knew you'd come.
And in addition, the scene tells us that even Superman can't save everyone. Okay, and this I'll mostly save for later, but I hate this version of Lex Luthor. The best way I can describe him is...
He's such a bitch!
And doesn't Mercy Lewis look uncomfortably like Scandal Savage? A meteor crashes into the sea and Luthor sends his scientists to go find it. It catches and murders a bunch of Atlanteans before destroying the submarine. Wonder Woman and Superman are training in another danger room, and they have a conversation about their relationship. They sum it up as...
It was nice for a while.
Before they are called into a meeting with the Justice League, which basically covers their budget for the year, and Batman excusing himself from the next meeting for a...
meeting with the headmaster at Damien's boarding school.
And it is nice to just see the Justice League interacting like colleagues at work. I just wish we had seen the progression from this...
They don't really come in. At all.
...to this.
We've got some beer in the fridge.
Congratulations. Where are you going? Fiji? Bora Bora?
But again, that's not Death of Superman's fault. We have another cute scene where Clark's parents are embarrassing him, and it just drives home to Lois how little she knows about him. It has never really boded well for Lois that she is the best investigative reporter in the country, and yet she can't figure out her boyfriend is Superman. But I think that is a plot hole we're all kind of stuck with at this point. And Ma Kent, in her special Ma Kent way, tells Clark he should let Lois in. So the next day they plan to meet for lunch, and, very inconspicuous, Wonder Woman tells him there's a creature on the loose, but after hearing he has a date with Lois, insists the League can handle it. When she pressures him for more details, he blessedly tells her to mind her own business. The date comes, and Clark admits that he has a secret. Lois devolves into her usual pragmatism until he says,
Look at me.
Oh my God.
She has a very natural reaction to finding out news like this, and he proceeds to explain why he kept it a secret this whole time. But before he can say anything else, he has to go save the world and Lois has to go report on it. That's not to say he doesn't get his message to her. The League are desperately struggling, and there seems to be no way to stop this rampaging creature.
No real thoughts. It's all aggression. All about the fight.
Okay, Wonder Woman. Nice to see you being a battle-ready warrior without being gleeful about it.
It's good to be back in the heat of war.
I still hate you, though. They do a really good job, far better than the comic, of making Doomsday feel like a hopeless threat. When it breaks Green Lantern's shield, can't be knocked down by the Flash wielding Hawkman's mace, or even so much as bruised by Wonder Woman, it really makes you believe that only Superman can take this creature down. So the more times he gets knocked down by it, the more hopeless it feels. And once again, Lois and Clark really feel like a unit here.
You can't go back after that thing. It's suicide.
So was following in a chopper.
Lois continues reporting on the story, and then Lex comes in and...
Metropolis is under the protection of Lex Luthor! Step back, freak of nature! No! Stay away from me! I'm Lex Luthor! I'm supposed to win! Lane, Olsen, keep the camera rolling.
Of course, Superman saves him and gets back to fighting, but once again, The hopelessness just builds and builds as Doomsday just keeps knocking him down, and then... I love this scene. I can't say anything. Just watch.
Clark. I got your note. And I love you too.
Clark finally manages to kill Doomsday, but he's too greatly wounded and dies in Lois's arms. And the grief in this scene is just overwhelming. I can honestly say that this is the first movie in a long time that has genuinely made me cry. A DCAMU movie made me cry. The movie ends with both Doomsday and Superman's bodies disappearing, setting up our next Superman movie and my favourite 90s comics character. So, I was flabbergasted that this film was as good as it was. The problems I did have with it, bar one, were connected to the wider universe. So, much like I do when I enjoy a movie, I'm going to get the bad out of the way first. The things I didn't like were Superman's interactions with Wonder Woman. I just cringe whenever these two are together. But that is the fault of the previous films, not this one. And even though Lois and Clark's relationship was done so well here, it might have been stronger if there was more build-up from previous movies. But once again, I can't hold that against Death of Superman. The only thing that is really wrong with it is Lex Luthor. Luthor is supposed to be a charming mastermind, not a pathetic, petty, whinging, "Look at me, mommy, I'm saving the world," little weasel. Lex does have his petty moments, but even in those moments, he always comes across as a man in control of every situation he's in. It's the reason he keeps getting away with the crimes he's committed. I can imagine Lex berating his employees if he thinks they're not good enough, but this scene doesn't come across as a legitimate power move or even just impatience. It mostly comes across as, "Ew, I'm so much smarter than you." So, Superman, Wonder Woman, Damian, Terra, Slade, Nightwing, arguably Batman, and now Lex Luthor. Anyone else the DCAMU just really doesn't understand. I remember him being better in Reign of the Supermen, but I've revisited movies in this series before that didn't bother me the first time, only to find out how bad they are, so we'll have to see. Anyway, the good. This movie's brilliance is its ability to get you to care about Superman before he dies. And considering it has a lot of catching up to do in that regard, it succeeds beautifully. Clark still has a few of the qualities he had in previous movies, because, consistency, but they are toned down considerably. Despite the fact that there was very little setup or exploration of Doomsday, I'm really happy with how they handled him, because he is not a character. He is a living, breathing, natural disaster, and treating him like that frees up more time to focus on the effect he's having on our heroes, build up Superman's character, and grieving his loss. A small thing the movie does that I really appreciate is that it sets up Reign of the Supermen without intruding on the story they're telling right now. Everything connected to that movie feels natural in this one. Lois for me has always been the perfect example of a damsel in distress done right. She gets herself into a lot of trouble, but you always understand why she's doing it. It can come across as irresponsible, but she just cares about journalism and the truth that much. This evidenced by the fact that she could have a much higher paying and more comfortable job than she does, but she continues doing what she's doing because it means that much to her. And that is something I think everyone can either relate to or aspire towards. That's not to say she doesn't do stupid things sometimes, but you never think she's a stupid person because of it. This version gets all of that, and it makes her emotionally vulnerable enough that she's easy to identify with. And that scene of her throwing the rocks at Doomsday is brilliant. In different hands, this could have come across as so cheesy and even made her look like an idiot, but because of all the good characterization they did up to this point, I read this scene as she knows there's really nothing she can do. She's not even doing this to buy Superman time. I can imagine her rushing in and picking up that rock because everything we've been shown about her shows that she's the kind of person who just can't stand there and do nothing. She can't just look at a situation and say to herself, well, there's nothing I can do. She picks up that rock because she's the type of person who, no matter what, can't just stand there. It actually reminded me a little bit of the No Man's Land scene in the Wonder Woman movie, just this time the woman has no powers. But powers or not, she has to do something. I honestly don't know why this scene had such a great effect on me, and I really don't want to get into media politics. I hate that, but I do want to say that we are so lacking in strong female characters, and the reason for that is because people who tried to write them seem to have forgotten what a strong character is. This is it. I wish I could be this brave. And the last thing I want to talk about is just how well the grief surrounding Superman's death was portrayed. Every tear shed, every solemn word spoken felt earned. I thought this sailor guy was kind of annoying at first, and he is, but his silent grief is so well animated. You see Flashpoint? We don't need characters to verbally express how freaking sad they are and how much they miss someone. This is much more powerful. And even when he does speak, it's just him saying a prayer and asking God why he goes on living when Superman deserved it so much more, which is just heartbreaking. Well, that's not just 2 movies in a row I tolerated, that's 2 movies in a row I freaking loved. I loved Death of Superman. The only thing I'm sad about is that it took this long for this series to give him the respect he deserves. Now, let's see how that carries over to the next movie, where I get to talk about a personal favourite Young Justice comics character who has been done so dirty in the past and is just delightfully dripping in the 90s.
Wait, did he just say chillax?
Let's hope it holds up.